Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hello.
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to It's All Love. This is a sacred space where we open our hearts, awaken our soul's wisdom, and align with the energy of truth, love, presence, and joy. We believe that everything, every experience, every expression is either an expression of love or a call for love, and at the core of each of us is an infinite well of wisdom, waiting to be expressed through heartfelt conversation, authentic connection. We are inviting you into this community where we meet heart to heart and soul to soul. I'm Wendy, and with me tonight is Laura and Maria. And Laura is joining us remotely. She was just having some technical issues, but we know that she's here in spirit. So we'll welcome everyone tonight, and we're looking forward to getting together. And please leave some comments in our chat, and hopefully we can connect with you one-to-one tonight.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Wendy. Hi, everybody. I was out last week moving my daughter into college, so I'm happy to be back this week with you. I missed you. So how we always start every session, every podcast with a brief meditation, just to center ourselves, to ground our energy, and to find different ways, or explore different ways to get into our hearts. And then we move on from that and dive into some conversations, whatever's been happening to us in our lives, or emotions that have come up, or ideas, or ahas, whatever it might be. So we definitely invite you all to pop a little message in the chat if you're watching and have any questions, or have anything else to add. We love the interaction. So without further ado, if you feel comfortable, take a moment right now to just close your eyes. You could stay seated, you could lay down, but just bring your attention to your breath, to the rise of your chest with your inhale, to the fall of your chest with your exhale. And if a thought comes into your mind, gently notice it and release the thought. And then you can bring your attention back to your breath. Inhale. Exhale. And I do like to ground my energy when I'm centering, bringing my attention to the bottoms of my feet. I feel the floor beneath me. And imagine that energy going out the bottom of my feet into the ground and spreading like the roots of a tree, offering connection, stability, safety, and support. Take another deep inhale. Hold. And exhale. Feeling your heart open. Your energy flowing freely through your body. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And welcome.
Thank you, Maria. That was beautiful. So we have been talking a little bit today in general and alluded to this, of course, in other podcasts. But when it's all love and the connection to self-care, self-love, self-worth. And we've in particular been talking about anxiety and some of those emotions and how that can be a catalyst for some things. Anxiety can wake us up to some things, but in particular, we're talking about anxiety in connection with self-love and how we can begin to navigate those feelings, those experiences of stress and anxiety, and how it can sometimes be a sign that we're needing a little more self-care, or it may be, of course, even deeper and deeper. We were talking about how it's about trusting yourself. Maria, I think, remind me what you were saying earlier about what you were connecting this week about anxiety, especially working with a few other people.
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to remember word for word what we were talking about, but this time of transition, especially with children, sending them off to school, new school years happening and starting, or even adults starting a new job or just diving into something new. There can be a lot of anxiety around that. And what I was thinking about was, I don't even know, is it that I feel like at the base of anxiety, when I see people, I see the anxiety here in their third chakra. I feel it there, like people carry it there. And what is the third chakra? But your idea of self, your sense of self and self-love. And so I was thinking about it, is self-love or lack of the basis of all anxiety? That's my question. I don't know the answer right now. I'm hoping that we can find out today.
And people out there, Wendy, I'm curious what you think. People out there, if that's the question,
Right.
do you find that when you're with it, when you're being with it, when you're with it,
yeah,
when you're with it, when you're being with it, do you feel like at the base of all anxiety is not feeling good enough, the self-worth?
Yeah.
Like what she said in the third chakra. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's no secret. I have a close relationship with anxiety. And for me, it almost feels like, and Maria, when you're talking about that third chakra, it almost feels like that's the ceiling. And anxiety is hitting all the other, it's kind of stopping there. So it starts your safety in your first, and then your kind of creativity, self-expression in the second, and then it kind of bumps up into that self-worth and has a hard time, your energy has a hard time going up further. So anxiety for me, it feels like a messenger. It lets you know that something doesn't feel right, and probably relating to one of those bottom three chakras, depending on the situation. And it's so interesting because self-love is so expansive, but anxiety is contracting. Your breath is shallow. You hunch over. You maybe curl the body. Even your eyesight can narrow. Everything contracts. And And
It's a
so,
physiological response.
right, it's your nervous system, and it's a well-honed nervous system that gets hijacked at some point, maybe in your early years, maybe inherited a little bit, but when you start the self-love, which is expansive, of course it's going to help.
Mm.
It's going to help, because now the self-love feels like it's kind of like everything's flowing through all of them.
Right. Well, and if you, let's just go back to, let's say it is a third chakra emotion, or um, something that causes an imbalance in your third. If you're not feeling enough self-love, if you're not feeling self-worth, or if you're basing all of your worth on outside things, right, then that does create an energetic imbalance. If you have an energetic imbalance, like you were saying, you might be flowing first through third, but if you have an energetic imbalance there, it's like kinking the hose right there. It can't go any higher than that.
Right.
And so how do you get from that space of that anxious feeling to a more expansive, loving self? Because I
And
don't think that people with anxiety can't ever get into their hearts. I believe that they can.
Mm.
But I guess the big question is, how do you move there? How do you get there?
I also, two things with that anxiety, like when we're thinking about, like, to me, again, just to spitball on the question, is like, I've always thought, one, anxiety sometimes is trapped creativity. And if you don't feel like you're worthy, if you don't feel like you have anything to offer, if you feel like an imposter, we talk about imposter syndrome all the time. If you feel like, well, I'm weird or different, and then it feels like it gets trapped in there, and it just, so it's like, I don't feel like I can be myself. And to me, being trapped creativity is not necessarily like literally creating an art piece or a music piece, and it can be, but trapped creativity to me is also like, you're a creative being, and what you think and feel matters. And if you feel like you can't be your authentic self, then it can get trapped in there. That's one thing I've just always wondered and thought about a lot. And then two, like we've been talking about, how do we give ourselves permission to love ourselves in like in relation to anxiety. I also think that second part, anxiety being like, can there be an energy of awareness? This does not feel right, or this doesn't match me. Because some people say, I'm anxious because I feel like I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, or I don't like this. Can we have an awareness of something, and then where does it turn into anxiety? I don't feel like I can trust myself. I don't feel in control, versus just awareness and discernment. This doesn't feel right. So I'm curious what people out there are thinking about this or feeling about this, because we've thrown a lot of different ideas when it comes to self-love and anxiety, and how, again, talking about how we can begin that shift, or to give ourselves permission to do so. So thoughts about that, ladies?
It's almost like, because anxiety, it's linked with fear, and you're either fearing the unknown, or you're fearing the what if. It's always casting out in the future based upon some kind of experience in the past, and it almost feels like it bypasses your heart and then takes root in your head. Almost like it stops there, and then bypasses your heart, and then it takes root in your head, where that's where all your information is. That's okay, this is my experience. And so the brain, the mind wants your body sends its signals. I think I've talked about this before, where your body feels everything even before your brain can process it. So on some level, you're sensing something, and it's usually in your belly when something doesn't feel right, or your heart rate might quicken, and then you're automatically asking yourself, okay, what's wrong? What's going on? And as soon as you try to figure that out, then you're not in that heart. You're not in the self-love. You're not in the heart mind. You're trying to figure out what it is. What can I link this feeling to? What has happened before? And you kind of stay stuck in there, because that's where the stories are, and that's where the traumas are, and that's where the things,
Right.
all your experiences are up there. And so it can be really hard in the moment to get back down into the heart thinking, but it is possible. It just depends on how intense the anxiety is in the moment. But
Well, isn't it? And Wayne was talking about, hi Wayne, about fear is the mind killer and love-based will rise like a wellspring. You know, talking about bypassing, like bypassing the heart, bypassing those emotions.
Which is another word for disassociation.
That's what I was going to say. It's really disassociation, because you actually are feeling a lot of things.
Right.
But the disassociation gets pulled away. And then when we feel disassociated, to me, the good news, the divine news, is we're really never we're never really disconnected from source, from our heart, from the divine. We're never really disconnected, but we can feel disconnected. And that's that fight, flight, freeze, all these things. So I think we know it's not a simple necessarily answer, because it may be individual, but I do think there's universal things that we can do to help ourselves recognize that our body is giving us signals that we're needing something. We're needing something.
So what I've been witnessing recently is, as you said, bypassing that heart, having that fear, right? Having that fear in your gut and your third, bypassing the heart, and then getting stuck in those thoughts, in that cycle of thought. And it just builds and builds and builds until it feels overwhelming. And so as the person not experiencing it, but having loved ones who are experiencing this, it's hard even to break into that cycle of thought to offer a new thought. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I believe it was Eckhart Tolle. I think we probably mentioned him. I know I get confused in all the different conversations I've had. But where he was talking about, like, when I think about repetitive thought getting stuck, like I think about that infinity symbol we talk about a lot, and the heart being at the center for this metaphor, at the center, and then the thoughts we're feeling. We think we're feeling a bunch of things, and I would never say to someone that's having an anxiety attack or panic attack or just worried about something over and over again, or overthinking, all those words, I'm never going to say to them, you're not feeling something.
Right.
Because they are feeling something, but it's just this cycle, and it's getting trapped. So when I think about what Eckhart Tolle said, I think there was an Oprah interview with it again. He was talking about like addictive thoughts, or like, I know I've heard him talk about like overthinking as well. And he's saying, bring it closer to you. And I think when someone's in this thing, they're like, bring it closer. I am in it. I am.
How much closer can it get? Yeah.
But let the heart feel the fear. Bring it. He said, make space for it, make a meditation, almost practice out of it, and bring the feeling, the fear, because this is like, I'm this and this and that. And like what I think Wayne was referring to even is, it's love or fear. And we know that we're doing this. And so we're feeling fear. And so to bring the fear into the heart and let the heart, and I should say this, for anyone out there that's listening to this, if never worked with someone before, or I do think when you first do this, it's important to have someone that's really grounded, being there with you, either people like what we do, or a dear friend, or a partner that you can really trust in that way. But when you're ready to feel it, bring it closer, and you're going to feel the fear, and it may not be pretty, it may be messy, but then there can be a loosening, right, of the heart. It won't be that hard shell anymore. You're emitting what you're fearful of. You're bringing what Eckhart talks about, the light of awareness, and we think we're being really conscious. We're thinking, but that's not actually it's like when you're working with people and, couples, and they say that, we're really arguing about money, or we're arguing about, X, Y, and Z. They're not really, they are arguing about money, but there's something deeper underneath it. It's not really that. And so
Right.
that's what we're talking about. When you're over here, yes, you're worried about all these things, but if you can allow your heart to feel it, then I'm kind of curious what would happen if it goes down to that lower, that lower infinity.
Right. Well, and that's kind of like the just finding what that emotion truly is, right? What you can have all these different thoughts and these worries, but what is at the base of it? Like I've heard before where I've heard that anger is usually the actual feeling is actually sadness or grief,
Right.
and it comes out as anger.
Mm.
So in that case, that's that. But then what comes out as anxiety or worry, is
Self-doubt?
it just
Is it what-
self-doubt, self-worth?
Self-doubt. Yeah.
And then we
I was
circle
gonna
right
say,
back around.
yeah.
We're going to tie that up and okay, good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
oh, yeah.
It's problem solved.
Go ahead,
But
Wendy.
then
Sorry.
how do you help the people that you
Yeah.
love, or the people in your life, or the clients that come to you? How do you help them get out of that?
Well, to start, if somebody's in the middle of anxiety, and this this is something that has worked for me, is to get out of the head and back into the body. It's through the senses. The same thing. So they always say, if somebody's deep in anxiety and in thought, then bring them back into the body and ask 3 things do I see? Tell me something that you feel. They say, get those little breath mints or something really potent. Pop in one of those mints so you've got a different sensation. So because anxiety, you're replaying a fearful you're replaying a fearful scenario to the point where your body's actually feeling it. You are having a physiological response to something that's not even happening.
Like a PTSD.
Right.
So you have to get back into the truth, which is presence. The presence of where you are right now is actually, I'm sitting at home. I am feeling a cushion. I can smell the air is fresh. Whatever you're worried about happening is actually not happening if it's anxiety.
Right.
And so you have to disrupt it with presence.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever and then now you're back in the body. And once you're back in the body, you might be able to get back into the heart and maybe have those conversations.
What am I really afraid of?
Right. So, okay. And so if you're looking at the worst case scenario, I've done this before with some loved ones, when they were little and worried about something happening. And I said, okay, so what if that happens? Then what are you going to do? And so we would talk about that for a minute. And I said, so now you have a plan. And that's the other thing anxiety doesn't like. Anxiety doesn't like a plan. Anxiety, if you have a plan for what to do, because chances are whatever you're worried about going to happen is something manageable in the end. It's not going to be a herd of, cattle coming through your bedroom and trampling you.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Yes.
So make a plan. Or if I'm anxious about something, and I will just tell my husband, I'm anxious about this. And then he knows. And then now I've shared it, and it automatically lessens it by tenfold, because now I'm not
isolating. You're not isolating.
I'm not isolating it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I do love what you started with. And that is because when you're in that repetitive thought, you can't, like I was trying to give some advice to my daughter, and when she was in that repetitive thought, nothing I was saying was going to penetrate that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I do love, now I have this little tool, thank you, Wendy, of bringing her back into her present moment, into her room. Even if that must be why sometimes essential oils are so good for some people, where it just brings that sense back. And they're like, oh yeah, I started wearing this and my anxiety is gone because I just put that on when I'm anxious. But maybe it's less about what the oil is or the scent than the actual fact that it is a scent.
Yes.
and pulling you back into that present moment and
That's
into your body.
sensory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensory versus story.
Right.
Yes. Was it Zach Bush that we were listening to recently about where he talked about he had a patient that had anxiety, and then he was I think he's also a chiropractor. He was adjusting them, and they had all this pain. They had this pain, and then the pain released and their anxiety went away.
Yes.
It's like the fear of something, and then it actually the pain happened, and then they survived it, and then later, so it's an
That was a
interesting
really powerful video. I wonder if we can put that somewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's Zach
not
Bush
today.
talking about pain and anxiety, and I believe it was on Instagram because I tried to find it on YouTube, but I couldn't find it. But so one, it's like, okay, and maybe we'll do a commercial here in just a moment, but I feel like one is like just acknowledging what it is, and it's being trapped, and how, and how it's maybe manifesting through some type of fear. But I think the second part that we can talk about today could be, again, when you're in the moment, we've got some strategies that, senses, bringing back in the present moment. So I think it's interesting to think about, well, if that's what gets you out of an anxiety loop, or allowing yourself to get back in your body and then feeling through your heart, and then, okay, now I'm here. So if we're not in the middle of a lot of anxiety all the time, would not be interesting to think about, well, then almost like a preventative. But so how can we practice this? What can we do for each other, for ourselves? Can we love ourselves enough to practice presence, to know that we're worthy of it, to how can we do this when we're not in the middle of the moment? And some people will say, and I love that I can see people are popping in and out. Welcome to our It's All Love. We are talking about anxiety, the spiritual journey, and different ways it occurs, and then what we can do about it and how we can support one another.
And we invite comments.
Yeah.
We ask that they stay on topic. And so tonight we are talking about anxiety. So if you'd like to leave a comment, make sure it is located within what we are talking about this evening. So if you would like to share your experiences, or you just have a general question about anxiety or an aha, please feel free to leave that in the comment, and maybe we will take a break shortly and come back.
I'm also going to put our email address that we just started up, so that if you are watching this, maybe not live, but later, and you do have a question, or you have an idea or a thought, please feel free to reach out to us. This just comes to the four of us, well, the three of us and Laura. So the four of us, so that we can respond to your questions, maybe during a future podcast, or So if you have something that you would like to share, feel free to reach out to us through this email as well.
All right. So when we come back, let's just take this a step further and see, two things. Some people will say, I've got anxiety all the time. We can address the beginnings of that, like what we're talking about with presence. And then when you're not in the middle of that, how can you strengthen that third chakra? How can you strengthen and acknowledge some more self-love? So let's do that here in a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle. as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome back, everyone, to It Is All all love. We are thrilled to have you here. We're here every Wednesday. I believe it's 4 Central Time. Did I say that right? And 6 p.m. over on the East Coast. And then all over from there, you can find us again here at this network. It's live tonight. And then we also have previous podcasts that you can look and listen. And again, we would love to hear what you think. Ask questions. Feel free to do that live here. And as Maria was sharing before, we have an email. Ask us questions. We love that. So I'm Laura again. Wendy over here. Wendy wave. I don't know what, and Maria down here, and our dear Laura was having technical issues, but she is with us in spirit right now and probably listening and helping along anyway. And so let's get back into the topic we were talking about is anxiety, how it's connected to self-love, self-worth. We were talking about all the things of how it gets started through fear, and what Maria was saying is anger is, a deep sadness, and how this anxiety could be a sign of low or just struggling self-worth or not feeling good enough. And Wendy was talking about how when there is a panic or anxiety attack, that we can, the way we get out of it. And Wendy, I love that you said that, because when I was working with teenagers, that's what we would do if they were having a panic attack in school. We were talking about how the senses bring you back into your body because you're disassociating actually at that point. It's gotten overwhelmed and there's a physiological response and all the way out here. And we would just have them say, where are you right now? Say it. What is it? And then we'd have them call out everything they're sitting on, or what do you see, or not sitting on? What do you see? What do you experience? Do you smell anything in the room? Sometimes high schools stink a lot. So that type of thing. And they would immediately begin to calm down.
Yeah.
So when we think about presence, if presence helps us get back in the body, how can we begin to strengthen that third chakra, our self-love? How can we begin to bring presence into our everyday life when we may not be in the middle of that panic or anxiety? Even if you still have a tight chest a lot of times, what can we do, ladies? What can we do? Those of you that are listening, what have you done, or questions that you have? What can we do to strengthen and to help ourselves and to know we're worthy of it? Thoughts, everybody?
Well, the quickest thing that somebody told me about is if you take a deep breath and then you take one more sip on top of that. So you take a deep breath and then one more, and then, because that second quick, I know, it's really good. That second little quick breath triggers the sigh. And the sigh is like a yawn. A sigh. You can't sigh and not have some part of your body relax. It is just physiologically next to impossible. You can't sigh and not relax something. So that's a quick in the moment. If you're out shopping and you're standing in line and then it just hits you all at once, and you just want to get your groceries and you want to get back home because home is where it's safe, but you've got to bring the food home. Do that quick sip of air, let it out, feel your feet, see if that helps in the moment. And then the harder work is how to incorporate presence mindfully, because anxiety doesn't like mindfulness. Anxiety likes to bypass everything and then live in the story.
Absolutely. So I like that. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Oh, look at Laura.
Thank you, Laura, for putting that in there so that we can come back to it. It's a great tool.
Let's read it for the people that may not see it. Again, she put it in the comments. Take a breath, another quick sip, breathe and let it out. That can bring you back into your body and out of your head quickly.
Mhm.
So that's that immediate thing. What
Right.
practices that we all have done, those of you that are out there as well, what are practices that you have done that when you begin to reflect on your life and experiences that you have not, they're like, wait a minute, I'm not as anxious as I was, or I'm not as worried as I was. Are there any practices that you all have done that you've noticed around your journey?
I know as far as self-love practices, a lot of people don't even know where to start with that. Honestly, they think of self-care and they're thinking about, oh, I'll go get a pedicure or manicure or whatever. And that
Which
is a
is
way
still
to
lovely.
self-care, right? Yeah, sure. But I know Wendy and I did this a while ago, and we didn't do it together, but we did do it together. Like, hey, reminder, have you loved yourself yet today? Remember, we would text that all
Yes.
the time. But it was great though, because you had that just one person to help you support and remember to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to do it because
No.
we've spent so much time forgetting about ourselves and thinking about everybody else around us.
Right.
But there's a book. Oops, I just dropped my rock. There's a there's a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Yes.
And I don't know that I even finished the book, but I found a practice in it that made a huge difference for me. And he talks about this practice is just he said pick a instrumental music, that's at least 3 minutes long. I think he said up to 7 minutes, something like that. One song that you listen to every single day, and if you want throughout, as many times as you want, but at least once every single day, and no words, just the instrumental. And every time you inhale, you just think or you say out loud or just think it in your head, I love myself. Every exhale, you release anything else. And so you're just for the whole entire song, every breath you take, you're saying it. Every single breath you inhale, you're saying it to yourself. And I know it sounds weird. It's like those Louise Hay practices of looking in the mirror and saying, "Hey, beautiful." Like how weird you feel doing that. But it works. And like within a week, 2 weeks, I'm sure, Wendy, I know we talked about this
We were
back
texting
then.
it when we were
We were like,
doing that.
holy smokes, like
Yeah.
things just started falling into place. We just started feeling better. It made such a huge
It really
difference.
did. I remember
Yeah.
one day you said we've spent a long time not loving ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent, well, everybody's a family member, a people pleaser. If you've been an empath, if you've been taking care of others, it makes it even harder to tune into the self-love because you just defer to giving to somebody else. And so starting simple, like some of these practices might be your first step before you dig into it and create these. It doesn't have to be like this 30-minute yoga practice.
Yeah.
It can be 5 minutes or less. And I've started doing this in the morning with myself and just wrapping whatever is present with me that I've woken up with, whatever's present with me, and just wrapping it in consciousness, wrapping it in love, and just breathing from a different space. And then focusing on the thing that I think is the problem or the pain, and then picturing all the space around it and breathing from that instead.
And I think it's so important to note that self-care can be, again, going out and doing something. But a lot of them the most powerful self-care sometimes do not cost any money at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just loving yourself, knowing you're worthy enough to take some time to nurture yourself, to be the nurture you may not have had growing up, or
Yeah.
that you've forgotten how to be. Nurture yourself and allow yourself some time. And it's that reprogramming of the unconscious, the subconscious of what Maria was talking about. I think that gratitude, when the gratitude journals, I think that was a big part of a little bit of that too, is like getting you into a state of gratitude. But I thought it was really interesting, an added addition to that. And I think it was in the gentle art of blessings that I read this. I will correct myself next time if it's a different book, but that is a phenomenal book, The Gentle Art of Blessings. And he is a French author, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by mispronouncing his name, but it is The Gentle Art of Blessings. It's a beautiful book. And within it, he was talking about, how many times now it's kind of a little bit more known thing of like, gratitude and what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? No, it was also in the art of, oh goodness, I'll find it. That is not the book. It's a Cheryl Richardson book. It is I believe it's the art of self-care. I highly recommend The Gentle Art of Blessing, but I believe it's the art of self-care. I will find that.
All right, I'm writing down both of them.
Laura, if you're out there, look up Cheryl Richardson. I believe it is the art of self-care or something like that. I did that book for some of my Emerson studies, and it was one of the best books I've ever done. And it reminded me of that. So in that book, she was talking about how now through a lot of communities we're doing the gratitude, blah, 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 and it's lovely. And I still believe in that deeply. And so then her mentor, she was going through something. I'm not quoting it exactly, of course, but her mentor, or they were having a conversation about gratitude.
Thanks, Lara.
Thank you, Laura.
The extreme art. Yes, the art of extreme self-care. I mean, let's get bigger and more extreme. I highly, if you don't know where to start, take the sip from Wendy out there. Take the song, the meditation practice of self-love from Maria that we, of course, are borrowing.
Well, it's not from me, but yeah.
Yeah, we own it. We're borrowing it from other people. And then the extreme art of self-care. And so she said, try this activity. What are you grateful for? Blah, blah, blah. And then I believe it was her mentor said, did you put yourself on that list? And she was like, no. So fast forward, I was working with a group of teachers, probably, I don't know, 30 to 50, somewhere in there at the end of the school year. I wasn't about to ask them to do an activity. All you teachers out there, we see you. We love you. And there's lots of different types of teachers. And so I just said, think about, let's get in the mood of gratitude. Let's get in a positive place. But think about just in your head some things you're grateful for. And then I asked that. I said, did anyone say yourself? And no one except one little 20-something-year-old that had been working with a spiritual counselor raised their hand. She told us later. And she said, I did. I put it at the top of my list because that was a hard year and I'm grateful I got through it.
Oh, yeah.
So how many times do you put yourself at the top of that list? I'm grateful for myself. And again, not selfish. It's not selfish. That's self-love.
Yeah. Yeah, self-love is hard. Self-love is hard.
Why is it hard, though? Why is it hard? Wendy, Maria, why is self-love hard? Out there, why can self-love be so hard? Why?
I think we're taught. Yeah. I feel like we talked about this recently, and maybe it wasn't here in this, but I feel like we're taught that it comes back to that word selfish. We're taught that self-love, or doing things for yourself, being grateful for yourself, loving yourself, is a selfish thing, and that selfish is bad. We're taught our worth through how we're viewed by others.
Right.
Which is radically wrong.
Internal.
Right. We're always looking outside of ourselves to find our worth. But what if that's not it at all? What if we've been doing it wrong all along? What if
And
the
if you're,
only place you can find that is inside of you?
yeah. And if you're growing up very little, I think it's attachment theory, maybe, that talks about where you're seeking your attachments, because we want to be connected. We are wired for connection. And if you learn very young that your worth is tied to what you do and not who you are, it can be very hard to accept yourself, to accept how you really feel about something. Because if you think about, if something hurts your feelings and you cry, or something makes you angry and you stomp your feet, and then you get punished for
Feeling.
feeling, and so then you start stuffing that down, and you don't trust your feelings, and then they just get deeper and deeper and more intense, and pain will always find its way out, in one way or another. Maybe not. It rarely comes out the way it comes in, which is the frustrating part of it. A lot of us start our spiritual journey not because we want to be more spiritual, but because something's hurting, physically, emotionally. It's that pain, and that's also where the wisdom is when you start digging into it. Yeah, it's a tough road if you have anxiety. We're here for you. It's not fun. It's panic attacks are the worst experience I've ever been through, so I understand. And if you want to reach out with any questions anytime, you can leave a comment, you can email us. We are here to create that community, that safe space, and we just love you, and we hope that you can start taking some little hints from our show tonight, maybe, and take a deep breath and take that first step towards feeling that love for yourself, not just thinking it, feeling it with all your senses.
Yeah.
And I think too, what I found for myself, I mean, if you had, I was a very anxious child, which later turned into a depressive teenager and young adult. So, it fluctuates and goes in that. But my self-worth was terrible, absolutely terrible. And I should say this, I had a very loving home. I had very loving parents. And I remember when I started this journey, the spiritual journey, I remember thinking, wait a minute, I felt safe at home. No parent is ever exactly perfect, but I did feel safe and I felt loved. And so if I'm feeling this, good grief. And then I know that's not the case for everyone, but if I'm feeling it, there must be something going on out here.
Right.
There must be messages that I was receiving, and maybe some of it, from my own family lineage and things like that, but also like what's going on. So it is a very normal thing to experience. And so now I have emotions, I have things, but I would not call myself an anxious person. But when I see someone that's highly anxious or highly depressed, let's look at, again, Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Give credit to Oprah. It's one of her shows I first heard that. And it was, wow. I was in my 20s. They were using it for like emotions, and it was like when she was doing her spiritual stuff on her regular show. So every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So think about when I see someone that's really, really anxious, I actually, and they're coming and they're talking or whatever, reaching out, I know the potential of their power is so great and so amazing. So if you can believe, if you're an anxious person or a worried person, if you can just take a moment to take a chance on what we're saying and take a chance. I'm not just saying this. I've seen it over and over again. To the amount of the anxiety can be to the amount of the empowerment. To the amount of depression can be the same thing, the amount of empowerment and power. And the power from heart, not power here, power here. So if you're listening and you're like, I am covered in this all the time, or I have these moments, for just even a second, take one of those zips that Wendy talked about, do that little meditation that Maria talked about, bring those feelings close to you. And for just a moment, can you imagine that you are worthy of loving yourself? Can you imagine that maybe all this angsty feelings, it's your gift inverted? It's your gift. But maybe as an empath or an intuitive or just a sensitive soul, it sure didn't feel that way. But the key for me, and I went on that journey of like, I can't stand myself. If my 16-year-old thought I was going to be on like a screen somewhere talking to a bunch of strangers I didn't know, oh my God, no way.
Yeah, no way.
No way. None of us would have done that.
No.
But the extreme of that, and the key in the middle was allowing myself to feel and entertain the idea that I was worthy. Just beginning to love myself and know that I'm worthy. And then when I started feeling worth for myself, I knew that everyone else was too. It wasn't an arrogant thing. It was a humble confidence thing, humility. So if you can just entertain for a moment, that could be possible. Yeah. We just need that little breath, that moment. All right.
Wayne in the comment was asking, do you have a go-to technique for panic attacks? Yeah, when anxiety builds up to the point where it spills over is how I describe it. When it just reaches, it builds up and it has nowhere else to go, and it turns into a panic attack. First thing I do, sit down on the floor, because sometimes you get dizzy, and that can give you a nice, safe, grounded space. Couple quick things. If you can get an ice cube or splash cold water in your face, sometimes that temperature shock can disrupt the sensations. And then lengthening your breath. If you can't do that sip, if you're so contracted that you feel like you're hyperventilating, just try to lengthen your breath, even just a little bit. I used to teach children's yoga, and I would teach the children a roller coaster breath. And you just take your hand and you just breathe in and out, and just follow, breathe in and out. And you can do this if you're in a restaurant. You can just put your hand under the table and just trace, because now you've got the sense of touch and you're breathing along with it, and your brain is trying to focus on this and that. And sometimes even just those little quick temperature change, lengthen your exhale, can hopefully get you so you're feeling a little bit less of the fear, and then you can deregulate or de-escalate from there into back into the self-love, back through the senses and back into the heart. Hopefully that helps.
That's beautiful.
I love that I am just thinking about, I wish we had this podcast 2 days ago. It would have been so useful. But for future, it will happen again. And, anxiety comes in all different levels too. Not everybody who's anxious has panic attacks, but all of these work, because it is all of that anxiety, that worry, that fear is just that repetitive, getting in that loop of that repetitive thought. So all of these are so useful to interrupt that thought pattern. And then, of course, the thought pattern creates the rut. So it's easier to go down that avenue again, right? Because we already have a well-tread path that way. But coming up with new paths.
Right.
Yeah. Through
You're
self-love.
really good at this, Maria, helping people come up with new what if questions.
What if? Yeah, I haven't done that in a while. But like you said, coming up with, okay, what's the worst case scenario? What's the biggest fear? Okay, so if that happens, what's the plan? Let's come up with a plan. So if it happens, then you have this plan.
Right.
So you're creating a new path with that. You're doing self-love practices. You're creating a new path with that. So now while this pathway might be the most walked upon path and the easiest one, not easiest, obviously, being in panic is not easy. Familiar. Right. Like the river is going to go down this path until this one is formed, and then it can start to trickle in that way. And the more attention you put towards those, the bigger that path becomes. Right. I did do a meditation this morning where I was at I was asking a question, but the focus was finding peace. And then when you find peace, you notice it. And by noticing it, you're bringing attention to it. And by bringing attention to it, you're inviting more of it. So in other words, you're choosing a different path to walk down. You're noticing it, you're doing it often, you're attracting more of that to you. And then that's how you co-create with the universe. And now, and scene.
Yes.
That's a
No, but I
phenomenal.
love that we've had, there are so many concrete things that we can do. And I love all these suggestions today. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This has been wonderful for me.
It's good for us.
I
And
don't know about
hopefully
you, but it's been good for me.
for everyone else too. So thank you all. Quickly again, we're here 4 Central Time on Wednesdays. It's All Love and 6 p.m. Eastern. You'll find us again on New Thought Media Network, the pre-recorded. We're here and we're excited to be here with you. The 3 of us are in North Carolina, even though I'm the only one with the accent. At the Star School, we're a community that have these conversations. We have a lot of little free conversations and things you can see on our website. We're just here to support. We're just all on the path, and we're just here to support. And we each have our own personal practice within that, and you can find more about that on our website as well. And then our lovely Laura, this is her. This is the Laura without the U, Lara Brzezinski, and this is her practice as well. And so she, again, does similar coaching and gives a lot of structured ideas and supports you as you're implementing these on the path. So you can find her there. And again, our email, please, we obviously can fill an hour talking easily, but we love to hear what you think, because you guide this. This is we love what we do. We love this community, but we're here to also support you, and you're going to give us those topics and ideas as we go down the road. So we hope that you have had a good experience today, received a lot of information, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, have a beautiful, beautiful week, and we're thinking about you. Take care, everybody.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings. On behalf of everyone at New Thought